Welcome, my most amazing artists. I am so excited to bring you this video on how to create a Chihuly inspired sculpture using radial balance. All the materials you'll need to complete your Chihuly inspired sculpture will be listed in the video's description. Now let's learn a little bit about the artist who's inspired this, Dale Chihuly. He is a daring pioneer of glass and has established himself as a larger-than-life voice in the field today. He continues to innovate, experiment, and create new work daily with a distinct style of spectacular color saturation and organic beauty. Creating sculptures since the late 1960s, Chihuly is best known for his large-scale architectural installations, smaller structures inspired by organic forms, and monumental chandeliers, comprised of dozens of curling glass arms that radiate from a central core. The artworks appear worldwide, from private and public, gardens, to ceilings, to floors, and to walls. Chihuly finds inspiration all around him, from objects to architecture, nature to classic film. Glass has always been a marvel to him. The fact that silica or sand can be transformed from a solid to a liquid to a solid just from fire. The transparency, translucence, the powerful beauty of the light streaming through it. He's quoted as saying, "I want people to see something unexpected and beautiful, and to carry that feeling with them." To learn more about the fascinating life and career of Dale Chihuly, including why he wears an eye patch, click on the links in the video's description. Before we begin, let's explore radial balance. Radial balance or symmetry are visual elements that are arranged and radiate around a central point. Examples can be found in both nature and man-made objects. Objects that have radial symmetry can be divided into equal pieces, like a pie. Each piece of the pie is also a congruent shape. Congruent shapes are exactly the same in size and shape. Here are some examples of radial symmetry found in nature, like plants, snowflakes, and flowers, as well as clovers, eyes, and sliced fruit. And examples that are man-made, like pizza, balls, ceiling fans, clocks, wheels, Ferris wheels, and umbrellas. What other examples can you think of? Now, before we begin creating our very own Chihuly-inspired radial design sculptures, let's take a look at some of these incredible pieces from students in the past. To begin, you're going to need a 12 by 12 inch piece of paper, as well as a variety of circles to trace. I like to use a large paper plate and a variety of circle stencils. You'll flip your paper plate upside down, place it in the center of your 12 by 12 inch paper, and trace around it. Now we're going to want to divide our paper into 4 equal quadrants, measuring 6 inches by 6 inches. I'll do this by creating a small tick mark at both the top and bottom of my paper, as well as the left and right hand side. Next, you're going to want to match those lines up and draw a straight horizontal line across, and then a straight vertical line down, crisscrossing or intersecting. Now, depending on the intricacy of your design, I like to use a yardstick and draw a diagonal that extends from one corner to the next, having 8 equal parts to create my radial balance design. Next, use your circle plates or your stencils to help guide where your radial design elements will be. This is where you're going to want to let your creativity shine. You want to draw any radial balance design that interests you. The possibilities are really endless. This is more of a descriptive video than a prescriptive. I don't want you to follow my specific drawing necessarily. I'm just guiding you on how the creative process will be. I'm going to use each of these congruent parts that radiate from the center of my design to help me create this radial symmetry design that repeats itself all the way around the circle. As I create sort of this flower pattern, feel free to go back to the video and look at some of the other student examples as inspiration. And again, be creative and unique and create your very own unique radial design. Now that your radial design is complete, it's time to grab your plastic sheet. These will be linked in the video's description. Don't purchase anything less than 0.007 thickness. Go ahead and remove the tissue paper protecting it, and then grab your tape. You will need 2 to 3 of the sides taped down to ensure that your sheet stays in place as you trace your design. Now you're going to grab your paper plate and a variety of Sharpies to begin tracing your design. I like to use a chisel tip, regular, and fine tip Sharpie. This will help give my design a variety of line qualities for visual interest. As you begin to trace, take your time. Do your best not to smear or smudge your lines as you go. It's easier than you think. However, I will show you a trick to erase any mistakes you might make during your process. If you make a mistake during your tracing, all you need is some rubbing alcohol to erase your mistake. I like to use a small paintbrush and a tissue, and for a large mistake, just use a large paintbrush or cotton ball, making sure to clean and dry the edge before you continue to trace. Next, it's my favorite part, time to paint. Only enamel paints will withstand the heat and not melt or bubble when the heat gun is applied. You'll need paintbrushes as well as something to store your paints in. I like to use this round little paint palette. Make sure it has a gloss finish so that the paint does not stick to it. I will link these palettes in the video's description. They also come with a plastic lid, which is crucial for keeping the paint from drying out, which this type of paint does. It's also a bit expensive, especially for a class project. So I tell my students to just put a little in their palette. We can always add more. As you paint, go slowly around your design. However, if you cover up your Sharpie, that's perfectly fine. This is actually going to be the back of your sculpture, and your Sharpie will still show through at the front. Now, I like to paint about 2 to 3 coats because the paint is a bit translucent and you really want to get good coverage. I also like to recommend that my students paint every surface of their design. However, if you leave some clear, that's okay. Just try not to leave too much, as it does affect the heat from the heat gun, and those areas might be a little more susceptible to burning. Now, before you cut it out, you're going to want to let it dry for about 24 hours before you apply the heat gun. However, I always take a sneak peek to make sure that I've applied enough coats and it's not see-through. Once it's done, slowly cut around that outer edge. Next, time to grab your heat gun, linked in the video's description, a metal can or tin planter, as well as some tongs to protect your fingers. Place your planter or tin upside down and place your radial design with the paint side facing towards you. I turned the heat gun on high and begin moving it in a circular motion around the outside edges of my design. For safety, I do this step for students. I do not allow them to use the heat gun at any time. Also, this should be done in a well-ventilated area, doors or windows open. Now that we've heated up our plastic sheet, you're going to hold it steady with a long pair of tongs in the center. Never use your fingers or hand. I'm going in an up and down motion until I see the heat begin to warp the plastic, and I keep moving around that radial design. Don't keep the heat gun in one area for too long or it will burn a hole in the plastic. Once you've created a vessel-like form that you are satisfied with, wait for it to cool before flipping it upside down. Well done, my most amazing artist. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I can't wait to create with you again very soon.